I welcome you in RC Design class. So in previous few lectures, I have discussed the methods, different methods used in design. So the first one is the older method, is working stage method. Then ultimate load method, and finally the limit state method is introduced to design the RC members. So in limit state method, uh, all previous methods shortcomings are eliminated, and this is most superior method, uh, and we design the members using uh, limit state method. um, so here in work stage method you have seen that um, elastic stress is considered, is the members withstand load up to elastic stress. uh, and in ultimate load method you have seen that serviceability is not considered. So from the user's point of view, this method is obsoleted. So now the limit state method is introduced to design the reinforced concrete members. And so in limit state method, two things are considered. One is called characteristic load and characteristic strength. So basically, to assess the load and strength, so when you design the member, that time you have to find out how much load comes to the structure. So to assess the load, limit state method has um, introduced the concept of characteristic load as well as characteristic strength to assess the strength. So the definition of characteristic strength is given, and the characteristic strength is denoted by F suffix ck, is the characteristic strength. So characteristic as per code, as per IS 456 2000 in page number 67. So you see the reference. So in characteristic strength, so um, the strength of material okay. So the strength of material below which not more than 5% of the test result are expected to fall. So it means you see that the strength of material means the ultimate strength of concrete, which are not which material which are not more than 5% results are expected to fall. So means the you see that probability is considered to calculate, to estimate the characteristic strength, because the lot of there are number of uncertainties are involved. So that's why to define the characteristic strength, the probabilistic approach are introduced to define the characteristic strength of concrete. Because the materials of concrete, I mean the constituent ingredients of the concrete, so the quality may vary. So that's why the quality and the proper gradation has to be maintained. So that's why, so there are a lot of uncertainties, so that affect the strength of concrete. So that's why they have probabilistic analysis are carried out, and the definitions has given, and here it is clearly mentioned that 5% result are expected to fall. So it means, suppose I use the M20 grade of, so I make a M20 grade of concrete in laboratory. So you know that here the cube is 150 cube is tested, 150 cube is tested, and the strength is measured after 28 days. Means that this cube is stored into the water, and after 28 days the cube is removed from the water and tested on compressive testing machine. So here 20 is the characteristic strength. Okay, so and M is the the mixed design code. If I follow the mixed design code, then we achieve the strength, will we can achieve the strength 20. And here the 5% results are expected to fall, means that 25% of 20 means how much, that is 5 into 20 by 100. So it means 1. So 5% results are expected to fall as per definition. So means the test results must be within 19 to 20. Okay, so test result must be within 19 to 20, then we achieve the strength, and your so we get the appropriate grade of concrete. So the 5% result are expected to fall, and the concrete is tested after 28 days to get the characteristic strength or ultimate strength. So you see that 5% means from 19 to 20. So your test strength should be within 19 to 20, then it is okay, and we so we make the M20 grade of concrete. Okay, now the next another term is introduced to calculate the load. So that is the characteristic load. So you see that again the probabilistic approach is introduced to define the characteristic load. So means that value of load which has a 95% probability of not being exceeded during the life of the structures. So why the probabilistic approach are introduced? Because in structures, so in previous method you have seen that the work stress method consider the actual load, but in structures, so maybe the structures may be overloaded. Overloaded means the so the force which we are not considered, like the severe earthquake. Suppose the one severe earthquake has come, or any unseen load, or sometimes the structures are overloaded, so that things are not considered. So that's why they have used the probabilistic approach to find out the characteristic load and the definitions. So the characteristic load means the 95% probability of not being exceeded during the life of the structures. Okay, and the loads are given in IS 875 part 1, part 2, part 3. Okay, part 1 for dead load, imposed load for part 2, wind load for part 3, and snow load as given in 875 part 4. And the seismic force given in IS 1893. So so that's why the load may change, load may vary. So the sometimes structure may be overloaded due to the temperature or any other reason. So that's why the probabilistic things are carried out. Probabilistic approach is used to define the characteristic load, and that's why the 95% is taken. Okay, whereas for to define the characteristic strain, the 5% test results are expected to fall. So in limit state method, the characteristic load as well as characteristic strength are considered to estimate the load and assess the strength. Now in limit state method, you have seen that in working state method, we are considering only the factor of safety for material, but here but not for load. We are not considering in working state method. You have seen that the actual loads are considered, service load are considered, whereas in limit state method, for both material as well as load, the factor of safeties are introduced, factor of safeties are considered to design the member. So in limit state method, for both material, so this is reinforced concrete section, so the for concrete the one factor of safety is considered, that is 1.5. It is given in code. So you see that clause number 36.4.2.1, go to page number 68. So here it is clearly mentioned that for concrete the factor of safety for material is 1.5, whereas in steel 1.15. So you see that steel has less factor of safety because the steel has better quality control than concrete, whereas concrete is mixed in the field. So that's why the concrete has larger factor of safety, whereas steel is a factory product. So that's why less factor of safeties are considered. So 1.15. So for computing load, and again, so you see that, so how we get the design strength. So suppose the grade of concrete is M20, so it means the design strength FD, D means the design strength of the material, so 20 divided by 1.5, okay, 20 divided by 1.5. F is the characteristic strength, so the M20, for M20 grade of concrete the characteristic strength is 20, and the partial safety factor for concrete it is 1.5, so F divided by 1.5, so we will get the design strength of the concrete. Now to get the design load, because the in working state method the working load is considered, so whereas in limit state method the design factor load is considered, and the factor for the different load because the different loads are different loads may come in structures like the dead load, imposed load, live load, wind load, and also the earthquake load. Now for the design load, so the what load actually comes to a structure, that is multiplied with the load factor, where the gamma suffix F is called the partial safety factor appropriate to the nature of loading and the limit state being considered. So loading factor is multiplied with the actual load, and also one thing, so in your syllabus only the dead load, live load is considered. So so you have to combine load, because the dead load, live load are gravity load which is acting vertically downward. So those load you have to combine means the you add the two load, dead load plus imposed load. So as per the table 18, here the combinations are given. So for dead load plus imposed load, the factor of safety is how much? The 1.5, okay, and so the dead load plus wind load, the factor of safety 1.5 for dead load, and wind load it is 1.5. Similarly the dead load, imposed load plus wind load or earthquake load, as per the while considering earthquake effect, because the earthquake and wind are not, so both loads are not acting to the structure simultaneously, I mean at the same time both load are not applied. So that's why either you consider wind load or earthquake load. So if I consider the earthquake load with wind load, then what happens? In the you are considering the more load, so it means the structure become uneconomic. Okay, so and practically uh, so the severe means the cyclone and the earthquake will not come at the same time. Okay, so that's why either you consider wind load or earthquake load. Now you see that for serviceability the factor is 1. Okay, so these are combinations. So when you design the member, so that time you find out the how much load come to the structures. So if the for dead load, how much dead load comes to the member, then the imposed load means the live load, how much live load comes to the member, then you combine means you add to load as per the combinations following the table 18, and multiply load factor. So that is 1.5, because in your syllabus only dead load imposed load are in your syllabus, so we multiply only 1.5. so here the reference page number 68, IS 456 2000. Now in Lemieux method, members are designed in two aspects. I mean the members are designed uh, with respect of strength. You have to check the member whether strength is fulfilled or not, that you have to check. So that is called limit state of collapse. Limit state of that is called limit state of collapse, which mean the adequate strength, that is flexor. If I design a member under flexor or shear torsion, so the torsional strength should be more than um, applied force, applied stress. So the strength should be adequate. So that's why so the when we design the members, so we check the member uh, with respect of limit state of collapse, whether the member is fulfill the limit state of collapse or not, that we have to check. Another things also you have to check, that is the limit state of serviceability. So you know the serviceability I have explained, I had explained in previous lectures. So again I discuss. So serviceability means because we design the member for some purpose. So whether structure is fulfill the purposes or not, whether structure fulfill the service or not, so that you have to check using the serviceability condition. So here serviceability means if the excessive deflection, we check in serviceability whether member deformation is excessive or not, that we check. Whether the member crack width uh, is more than allowable or not, that we have to check. Vibration means in steel structures, in steel bridges, so the vibration took place when the vehicles are moving, moving through bridge deck, so the vibration occur. So you have to minimize the vibration, and you have to follow the vibration limit. As well the leakage means the in water retaining structure, so you have to check the leakage if the so that you have to check. So the excessive deflection, crack width, so serviceability is very important aspect. So collapse and serviceability, both criteria you have to check when you design. After design you check what sections you provide, what reinforcement you use. So you check that whether the members has adequate strength or not, that you have to check. So member should have the adequate strength, it should fulfill the limit state of collapse condition, and another thing is limit state of serviceability. So I just show you the example why the serviceability is very important. Suppose a beam a beam under load, it is safe under load, but the um, large, I mean the large deflection took place. So what happened? So what happened? First of all, the looks of the structure is affected. Okay, and if the structure is, if the deflection is excessive, uh, I mean the more than allowable. So what happened? The large deflection took place. So the occupants are not feeling safe. Okay, occupants who are staying inside the structure, they are not feeling safe. Although the structure is safe under load, but the large deformation. So the first of all the architecture looks are affected and the occupants are not feeling safe. And again, if the crack width, okay, if the more cracks comes on the surface, then again the architectural looks of the member, the architectural looks of the architectural looks, again it is affected. Then the vibration, okay, if the large vibration occur, then then uh, then the large noise comes, then it is again it is irritable. Okay, so the leakage criteria you have to check when you design the liquid retaining structures. So that time leakage criteria you have to check. So the serviceability is very important as well as collapse. So both criteria you have to check in Twisted method. I mean while you design a member. Now here the assumptions. So you know that in all methods some assumptions are considered, some assumptions are made. So similarly in limited method also the assumption are made. So the first assumption, so it is given in reference page number, go to page number 69 and IS 456 2000. Here the first assumption is plane section normal to the axis remain plane after bending. So means the plane section remain plane. The first assumption is plane section remain plane before and after bending. So it means the strain distribution across the cross section is linear. Strain is linearly varying across the section. Okay. So because there is no warping, so the strain should be linear to satisfy this assumption. Okay. So across the section the strain is linear. Now the second assumption, second things is consider the maximum strain in concrete at the outermost compression fiber is taken as 0.0035 in bending. Okay, so uh, when a beam bend, so suppose the sagging bending moment, if I consider sagging bending moment, so above neutral axis fibers are compressed, fibers is shortened, so the compressive stress are induced. So compressive stress is the compressive strains are occur, means the fibers are shortened above neutral axis. Below neutral axis the fibers are lengthening, or so the lengths are increased below neutral axis, so that means the tensile stress are induced. So here the maximum strain in concrete at the outermost compression fiber is taken as 0.0035 in bending. So the maximum compressive strain, if I say it is a cross section, okay, so this is the neutral axis, so the maximum strain maximum strain is occur at the topmost fiber. If the sagging occur, then above neutral axis fibers are compressed, fibers are in compression, and below neutral axis fibers are in tension. So the topmost fiber has the maximum compressive strain, and this strain is how much? 0.0035. Okay, so this is called limiting strain. So means the if the under load, if the strain is beyond the limiting strain, then the structure is then the section is failed. Okay, then the section is failed. So it means the strain of concrete, maximum strain of concrete should not be more than 0.0035. Okay, if it is more than 0.0035, so that time the section is failed under load. So this is called limiting strain. um, if further strain is occurred, then concrete is failed. uh, the third assumption. So you know that stress strain diagram of concrete is non-linear. Now but we cannot consider the actual behavior of the stress strain diagram, because it is very difficult uh, to consider the actual behavior of concrete in design. So that's why code consider the idealized stress strain diagram. The actual stress strain patterns are not considered in analysis as well as design. So idealized stress strain diagrams are, which is almost equal to the actual. Okay, the idealized stress strain diagram, which is almost not equal but almost equal to the actual. So the idealized stress strain diagram of the concrete is taken in a simple manner, means to simplify the analysis as well as simplify the design. Idealized stress strain diagram um, uh, has been idealized stress strain diagram is being taken. Now as per the assumption, so different idealization you may consider, different model you may consider. So here this type of idealizations are made to find out the strength of the concrete. So here, so you see that this is the actual stress strain diagram, idealized stress strain diagram. This is strain is plotted on x-axis, stress is plotted on y-axis. So again the cube is tested. This 150 mm cube is tested on compressive testing machine, and the stress and strain are plotted. Okay, so here, so this curve, this idealized, so as you know that this curve is actual stress strain diagram is non-linear. So idealization is idealized stress strain diagram has the two part. So it is parabola, means it is non-linear parabola up to, parabola means it is non-linear. Okay, so it is non-linear up to 0.002 strain, and after 0.002 strain the stress is not stress is constant, it is not it is constant, but strain is increasing, and finally the maximum strain occurred, because as per the assumption the maximum strain of concrete is 0.0035. so means the beyond that strain concrete will not take load, concrete is failed. So the strain, so after 0.002 the stress is constant and the strain is increasing. So this is a straight line and another is parabola. So it has the two part, parabola and the straight line portion. Okay, so after 0.002 the stress is not varying, stress is constant, and we get a horizontal line, and another is parabola up to 0.002 strain. So this is a mathematical condition. So you see that this is a characteristic strength of the concrete, this stress strain diagram of characteristic strength of concrete. So after that, this curve is uh, we are using a factor of safety, and the curve is reduced. Okay, so this is actual, this is idealized. Then for the design purpose, this is reduced using the factor of safety 1.5. so this factor of safety is called uh, size factor. Okay, this factor of safety is called size factor, means the in laboratory we are using a standard size, but in field the different size are used. So that's why they they consider one factor of safety um, for the different size, that is called 1.5. Okay, so this factor of safety is considered, and so from FCK to 0.67 FCK. So 1 by 1.5 is how much? 0.67. So from 0.67 to again the factor of safety for material, again it is used. So 0.67 divided by gamma m. So factor of safety for material is how much? 1.5. So we get, this is the design stress strain diagram. So this is a design stress strain that we consider uh, to find out the to assess the strength of the member, as well as to find out the moment resistance. So this is the this diagram has to be, this diagram is taken to design. Okay, it's taken for design. So this diagram, so the you see that the characteristic curve is reduced in two steps. So first step we use a factor of safety, that is called the size factor, and another factor of safety that is for material. So as it is mentioned 1.5. so two factor of safeties are used, and we will get, finally we will get a design curve. So these design curves are used to find out the strength of the concrete, and also to find out the resistance, means the moment resistance of the concrete. Okay, again the maximum strain of the tensile reinforcement. So you see that these assumptions, this is at D, the tensile strength of the concrete is ignored. Okay, because you know that concrete is weaker in tension and strong in compression, although concrete has less uh, tensile strength, little bit tensile strength, less tensile strength, but this tensile strength we are not considered, and we assume that entire tension is taken up by the steel, not by the, although concrete is taking tension, but we consider, to simplify the design, we consider entire tension is taken up by the steel, entire tension are carried by the steel. Next, so the maximum strain in tension reinforcement at failure shall not be less than Fy. Fy means the yield stress, and 1.15 is the factor of safety of the material, and Es is the modulus of elasticity of steel, because if y means the is equal to E epsilon So epsilon is equal to how much? Fy by E, Es. So Fy is the yield stress, and the factor of safety for material 1.5 is used, and the reduced yield stress are taken. That is called the design yield stress. We have considered factor of safety are used. Okay. Now see that, so the two type of steels are used. Two type of steels are used. One is mild steel, which have definite yield point. This is the definite yield point. Now this is the yield strength curve. Okay. So you see that when it reaches to the yield, it reaches to the yield stress. After that, stress is constant. Stress is not varying. Okay. So this is an idealized stress strain diagram. So but the strain is varying. Strain is increasing, and this is the yield stress. So so design, to get the design stress strain diagram, you have to divide the factor of safety of the steel. So factor of safety of the steel is how much? That is 1.15. So Fy by 1.15, so which is equal to 0.87 Fy. That is called design yield strain. Y means yield and D means design, obtained by dividing partial safety factor. So because in limit state method, the partial factor of safety for material as well as for load are considered. Okay. Now this figure is the stress strain pictures for cold work deform bar. Cold work deform bars are means the Fe 415 and Fe 500. So here the difference is, here definite yield point, but here there is no definite yield point. And you see that so this is stress strain diagram of cold deform bar. So it is linear up to 0.8 Fy. Okay, after that it is non-linear, means the parabola, and when it reaches to the yield stress, so after that stress is not varying, stress is not increasing, stress is constant, but strain is increasing. Now the modulus of elasticity is modulus of elasticity of steel is how much? 2 into 10 to the power 5 MPa. So this dotted line means if I remove the load, means that if at this point if I withdraw the load, then it come back to the original length with a permanent strain, that is 0.002. This is 0.002. The permanent strain is 0.002. Okay. So this is the unloading curve. The dotted line is the unloading curve, and make a permanent strain 0.002, which is not recoverable. Okay, which is not recoverable. It's a permanent strain. Now, so at this point, if I find out the strain, so that is how much? The slope. So this line is drawn with respect of this line, is the up to 0.8 it is parallel. So at 0.002 again the parallel line is drawn, and this intersection point is called the Fy yield stress, and it make a permanent strain 0.002. So the slope is this value is the Fy. If I consider the design curve, 1.15 is divided to get the design yield strength. So this is a design curve, so this is reduced, and 1.15 down. So Fy by 1.15, so design stress divided by modulus of elasticity, Okay, so we'll get the strain because stress is equal to E epsilon. So E epsilon, epsilon is equal to stress by E, and stress is Fy by 1.15 into S, and permanent strain is 0.002. So one thing you note, so this strain of the steel as per the in Lewis-Strain method, uh, the strain of steel should not be less than this amount of strain. This strain is called limiting strain, limiting tensile strain. So limiting strain is Fy by 1 point. I mean for both steel, for cold work deformed bar as well as mild steel. So why this 0 point? Because this ensure that member is failed in a ductile way. Okay, so you have to, if when the member is failed, you have to go beyond the yield strain. So that's why the this deformation took place. So when you design, so this deformation took place, so it means it failed in a ductile way. Okay, so both steel it is failed in a ductile way.